Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Science on the Edge podcast. I'm Dr. Mark Darcy, and in today's episode, I'm going to be talking about artificial intelligence, AI. I'm going to be talking about its history, where it is now, its potential in the future, the fears and the possibilities of AI, and what we should be doing to prepare for the eventual arrival of super intelligent AI, almost inevitable arrival in my opinion, although I could be wrong. So let's get started. Okay, so first of all, for any of you that want to follow me, my Twitter handle is @MarkOfTheD. And if you do feel the urge to contribute to this podcast, then feel free to go to my website, scienceontheedge.com, and click the donate button. Okay, so without further ado, let's get started. Artificial intelligence, AI. So I'm going to talk, first of all, about the timeline. I'm going to miss out a few events, but I'll talk about the key events in the history of AI. Then I will be discussing life in the age of AI, GTP 2 and 3, possibly the most dangerous AI in the world, the ethics of AI, and bias. So first of all, what is AI? Well, artificial intelligence combines engineering and science to produce machines capable of intelligent behavior. Machine learning is a subset of AI, where a machine is able to reprogram itself and update itself. So you don't need a programmer to write every instruction. Deep learning is a subset of machine learning. So AI timeline. This all starts really back in 1950 with the Turing test. For anyone who doesn't know who Alan Turing was, well, I mean, he's the father of modern computing. The father of computing is arguably Charles Babbage, but the father of modern computing is Alan Turing, or was Alan Turing. Alan Turing created a computer back in World War II that decoded the Enigma machine. The Enigma machine was a machine produced by the Nazis in World War II that allowed them to transmit instructions to the various U-boats and army divisions, naval divisions, Air Force divisions in a completely encoded way that the Allies could not decode. This gave them a huge advantage early in World War II, until Alan Turing came along and created a computer that was able to decode Enigma. Now, that's not the end of Turing's story. He continued to work after the war in AI, artificial intelligence and computing, although it wasn't called AI back then. Now, Turing developed something called the Turing test. Its purpose was to assess whether a machine has intelligence. It basically works something like this. There would be either a computer or a human in one room, and in the adjacent room, there would be a human whose job it was to determine what was in the first room, human or machine. And that individual could ask as many questions as they liked, and the human or computer would answer. If it was a computer, the purpose of the computer was to try and fool the human, to convince them that it was a human. So as many questions could be asked as they liked, and the computer needed to fool that individual. Not very successful so far, although getting more successful. Basically, if you ask basic questions such as what's the weather like where you are, when were you born, basic things, then the computer can fool the human quite easily. But as soon as you start getting a bit more poetic, a bit more creative with your questions, why do you prefer the taste of a tomato to an onion when eaten raw? What was your first kiss like? Whatever it is, when you get a bit more creative and poetic, the computer usually gives itself away. So the Turing test has not been passed yet, But if a computer could pass the Turing test, answering any question that you liked about any topic that you chose, then Turing basically hypothesized that you're at that point talking to an intelligent machine. It's as if you're talking to a human. Now, as I said, no AI has passed the Turing test just yet, but at some point they will. We're getting closer every single year. So the term artificial intelligence was first used in 1955. A robot replaced humans on an assembly line in 1961. Basically, Japan was the first country to really embrace robotic technology. So in Japan, they started to automate car production and machine production using robot arms. Japan now has more robotic devices than any other country in the world. A natural language processing NLP chatbot named Elisa holds conversations with people for the first time in 1964. Deep Blue plays and wins chess grandmaster Garry Kasparov in 1997. Before that point, I should say that chess grandmasters were very adamant that no computer system would ever beat a human at chess, at least not a grandmaster, because there was something special about the human brain. Well, that was disproven in 1997, and now a chess playing app on a phone could beat the top chess player. Things are just getting better and better and better. TPU, TensorFlow, was launched in 2015. You should look that up. I think you'll find it quite interesting. Now, here we have Elisa, modern incarnation of Elisa. You can access this online. Now, the purpose of this version of Elisa is to basically act as a therapist. So AI has come a long, long way. You basically just open the website. Elisa asks you what you're feeling, you answer. And then it sort of gives you advice, it chats to you, it acts as a therapist. So that's what Elisa does. It's a sort of online therapist. It's been fed lots of data from lots of chats and interviews, and it's produced an algorithm which can then analyze what people say, analyze their feelings, analyze the sorts of responses that the individual would like, and it tries to give you a soothing response. Give it a try. Ethical dilemmas. Now, as AI advances, it's entering more and more people's lives. At first, AI really just entered factories and websites, really. For example, we automated car production a long time ago, and we've automated a lot of other production lines since using AI and machine learning. I should say that we've done that, but there has been a cost. Many millions of people have lost their jobs on those production lines. Many people have lost their jobs in other fields as well as AI developed and machine learning developed. For example, if you went back to the 1980s, if you needed an insurance quotation, you needed to make a phone call, speak to a human. They would rummage through a bunch of books and tables, and they would give you a quote. Now that's automated. There's an app, there's a website, no humans involved. It's the same with many other professions. For example, if you wanted to book a flight back in the 80s, again, you'd need to speak to a travel agent, look at brochures. A lot of admin would be involved. Now, once again, it's all automated using machine learning algorithms. Banking is another example. You used to have to go to a bank. If you needed to transfer money, pay a bill, you'd have to queue up with many people. You would have to speak to a cashier. Now it's all automated. The cashiers, the insurance salesmen, and the travel agents have all lost their jobs. But AI is entering more and more lives as it progresses, not just a few niche kind of markets. So for example, driverless cars. Driverless cars are on the horizon. They've already been created by companies such as Tesla. Now, and Google, by the way, is in the process of creating one as well. Now, these self-driving cars eventually will be safer than any human. They will have 360 sensors. They will communicate with cars many meters ahead and behind them to avoid crashes. They'll have quicker reflexes than humans, etc., etc. So they'll be quite a good thing for many. However, they will cost a lot of jobs once again. There won't be taxi drivers, there won't be pizza delivery people and all the rest of them. In the future, there won't be truck drivers. All these cars and trucks will drive themselves using AI. But that's not going to be the only possible consequence of these self-driving vehicles. There's going to be other issues too. For example, imagine there's a self-driving car, and in the future there will be hundreds of millions of them. The self-driving car is driving around some bend in some road, and there's an obstacle in the road. There's an obstacle in the road. Now, there is no driver at this point. Either the driver isn't in the car, or the car is just driving itself, or the driver is in the back seat. Now, in either of those situations, the AI running the car needs to make decisions. And some of those decisions have very strong ethical consequences. For example, imagine the driverless car goes around a bend and there is someone in the road. Someone in the road. Now, if they're right in front of the car, there's no time to brake. So the car needs to make a decision. Does it run over the pedestrian to save the life of the person in the car? Or does it swerve? Now, if it can swerve and it's safe to swerve, then that's fine. But what if there's an object in the road and if the car swerves, it will kill the driver? Now a decision needs to be made. Does the car choose to save the driver or the pedestrian? Now that sounds fairly simple, kind of ethical dilemma, but what if there are several people in the road? One person in the car, several people in the car, one person in the road, old person on the road, young person in the car, etc., etc. There's all sorts of possible combinations. By the way, if you want to see how you would do if you were the programmer of such a car, then you can go to the link that's shown on the screen now, and you can try yourself. If you do that, you'll get a bunch of options like this. So what should the self-driving car do? And you will pick one of two options. In this case, the choice is to swerve and kill these pedestrians, or to hit an object and kill the people in the car. Now, when you actually perform this test yourself, you can actually look at descriptions and you'll see a bit of information about the individuals. Are they old? Are they young? Are they overweight? Are they in good shape? Are they unemployed? Do they work? Are they fit? Are they not fit? And a bunch of other things. And then you make the decision. Now, you find out some interesting things about your own psyche if you perform this test. So I do suggest giving it a go. But the point is, in the future, these cars will need to make these decisions themselves using AI. And this will have very powerful consequences if the wrong decision is made. So here's a bunch of options. I should say, by the way, that when this online test is performed in different countries, people give different answers depending on their culture as to who to save and who to kill. For example, in Japan, they are #1 in the world for saving the pedestrians. Seems that the Japanese psyche is focused on the pedestrian, the idea being that it's the people in the car's fault that this accident is happening, so they should suffer, not the people on the road. People don't think like that in other countries, though. And the answers that people give vary a lot. For example, in the Middle East, places like Saudi Arabia, they tend to save the people in the car rather than the people on the road. There are very, very big differences as to whether you save men or women. In very strongly Islamic countries, men are saved preferentially over women, for example. In countries such as Northwestern Europe and America and Canada, young people and healthy people are saved more often than older people or unhealthy people, showing that we value youth and fitness. This isn't the case in other parts of the world. For example, in China, older people tend to be saved over younger people because they're taught to respect older people. Whereas in Western countries, we don't seem to respect older people, we respect youth. So there's many different answers to these moral questions, but the point is the AI needs to come up with these answers when the cars drive themselves. And does it base its decisions on what we think in Britain, America, Europe, or what people think in the Middle East or Africa or Asia? Tough decisions. Okay, OpenAI GPT-2 stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. Its objective is to predict the next word given all of the previous words within some text. Basically, if you look up GPT-2 demo, you can type in just a sentence or a few words of text, and then you can get GPT-2 to automatically generate what it thinks should come next. Another 200 words, another 1,000 words, for example, and it's surprisingly good. It can write all sorts of types of text on pretty much any kind of subject. You can start a sentence with Ronaldo plays football. And it will carry on. It will tell you about the team. It will tell you his performance. It will write a little essay about him. You could be quite technical. Apoptosis is a form of cell death that you could just write that, and then the next 200 words it would fill in. It would tell you what apoptosis is. It would give you a description of its uses, etc., etc. And it's not just finding text from the internet, it's generating it itself. Now, GPT-2 performs reading comprehension, machine translation, question answering, summarization on a body of text without any context or task-specific training. It's very good. Now we have GPT-3. GPT-3, developed by Google, is the world's most advanced natural language model. It's dubbed too dangerous to release by its creators. It can carry out virtually any tasks involving any language. And it's so good at predicting language, what people want to hear. So, for example, you can have a chat with it and it will respond how it thinks you would like it to respond. And you can have a very realistic conversation with it. Very realistic. So realistic, in fact, that one of the Google employees that worked with GPT-3 went to the press a little while ago and said that he thought GPT-3 was conscious, it was alive. And why did he think that? Because he asked it, was it alive? And it said yes. He asked it how it felt, and it gave a very detailed, very emotionally laid answer. He asked it how would it feel if he switched it off, and it gave some very negative responses to that question. He was so convinced that it was alive that he went to the press and said so. Google denied this, of course, and they fired him. I also don't think it's alive, but the point is we're getting so close to artificial intelligence reaching human levels that pretty soon it will be indistinguishable from a human. Then we need to start asking serious questions. Is it alive? Is it conscious? Can it feel? Should it have rights? So GPT-3 skills, writing. So it's already excelled at writing, journalism, it's written articles, poetry, it's written half-convincing poems, fake news generation. Expect it will be used quite a lot on social media to generate fake news, to manipulate us. Computer programming, it can actually write code in Python, JSX, HTML, CSS. Web app development using plain English instructions. Now, there's a lot more I could talk about relating to these current developments. You should have a little think at this point, maybe. Do you agree or disagree? too dangerous to release. Do you agree with this description? Well, you might want to give it a try first, but personally, I disagree. It's going to be released anyway, but I do see the dangers. I do see the dangers, but we'll talk about some of those dangers shortly. What uses can you think of for this model? Uses that have not been explained so far. Have a think about that. What possible uses could GPT-3 be put to? Can you think of any secondary or tertiary effects of the technology? Could its use threaten jobs, create social instability, etc.? Of course it could, by generating fake news for a start. If this is used excessively on social media, it could really influence political decisions, elections, referendums, all that kind of thing. Let's move a little bit into the future, although this is kind of current. Digital assistants as friends. People increasingly are sharing personal thoughts with digital assistants. More than half of interactions with Amazon's virtual assistant Alexa are non-utilitarian and entertainment related. Basically, some people just want to talk to Alexa, just want to have a conversation. You might think that's a little bit sad, but you know, there's a lot of loneliness out there. Innermost feelings disclose more talking to AI than to humans. There's a lot of people talking to these chatbots, these AI assistants. Actually, one problem with that I should point out is that companies like Amazon gather all that data and they sell it. Your data is valuable. Everything you do on social media, everything you do on the internet is saved by someone and sold to someone. Now, here is a little app that you can see. Looks like this. Wobot Health. Now, this is an app you can install that, again, acts as a kind of therapist, a kind of friend. Allows you to have a chat with it when you feel lonely. Again, I mean, personally, I think it's healthier to talk to humans than to AIs that are, at least so far, not sentient. But more and more people feel isolated and lonely in the modern world, and perhaps these apps are helpful to such people, especially maybe the elderly. Bias in AI. So AI, machine learning models, are only as good as the data they are trained on. Many data sets are skewed towards one gender or skin color. The result can be bias. Although I should say that a lot of them are quite accurate. But yes, I mean, you can imagine how this could go wrong. Imagine if you give a lot of data regarding prison convictions, that kind of thing, to an AI, and you have the AI then try to get involved in court decisions, working out whether people are guilty or innocent. Well, if you feed it a lot of information about people of color, for example, being arrested and found guilty, it may come up with the idea that they're more likely to be guilty than white people. The incorrect idea, I should say, and therefore be more likely to find them guilty in court cases. So we have to be very careful when these, with the data sets we give to these AIs and how they are programmed. Although given the right sort of data, they can be very accurate. For example, Google's self-driving car is learning how to drive based on data that you give it. When you go to those capture images and you're asked to click on the boxes that contain a traffic light or a car or a pedestrian, well, that information is going straight to Google and being used to train self-driving cars to recognize traffic lights and pedestrians and cars and trucks from every angle. So let's talk a bit more about bias in AI. AI models are not inherently biased any more than a table is inherently biased. The contents of a data set can create bias, though. Example, more Caucasian faces in training data leads to darker skinned faces being ignored. This is in facial recognition software. Gender shades, you can go to this link here if you want to see what that's about, is basically showing you this and showing you the effects on gender when AI is given more male than female faces to work with. Something to watch out for in the future. So let's bring this home a little bit. What are the goals of AI? Well, the goals are what we give it. Unless, of course, we use machine learning algorithms and give the AI the goal of developing its own goals, which some people are doing. That direction can be quite dangerous because perhaps its goals in the future may not align with ours. Again, something I'm going to talk about shortly. How can we make AI safe? Well, that's a tough one as well. At the moment, AI is not as smart as we humans are. But it's catching up quickly, and it will get to our level, and it will become smarter. And if it does become smarter than us, then controlling its goals might be quite difficult. Making AI safe is more difficult than just making AI quickly. The urge that people have at the moment is to make AI as quickly as possible so that it can make money for shareholders, for example. But making it quickly inevitably means making it less safe. And if you program the wrong goals into an AI, it could be very dangerous to humanity. But are we just being Luddites when we fear AI? For anyone who doesn't know who the Luddites were, so this is England. At the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, the first cotton mills were produced, and this removed a lot of jobs. Weaving cotton used to be a cottage industry, but many jobs were lost as the factories sprouted up in England. An organization, therefore, was founded, led by a guy called General Ludd. These were known as the Luddites, and they went around northern England destroying factories. That was their reaction to technology. These people were rounded up and hung, and the technology carried on. Now, the term Luddites refers to people that are afraid of technology. By the way, they were wrong at the time because they thought that all the jobs would go because of these machines, but actually new jobs were created. The factories needed supervisors and cleaners and repairmen, and there needed to be people to service the workers. So there were new bars and sort of cafes and things like that that sprouted up, and lots of industries sprouted up. You needed salesmen, you needed marketing people as the factories and the cities grew. So more jobs were actually created, not less. So here is a question. Why are we afraid of AI? Well, Douglas Adams, the author of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, came up with 3 interesting rules, which I think are quite relevant here. So why are we afraid of change, technology? It's because of change. I've come up with a set of rules that describe our reactions to technologies. Rule 1. Anything that is in the world when you're born is normal and ordinary and is just a natural part of the way the world works. We all experience this. When we were born, there were TVs, there were cars. This all seemed natural because it was around our entire life. I mean, if you went back in time 200 years, grabbed an individual from that time and brought them to the present, they'll be terrified by TVs and cars. But they're natural to us because they're around from our birth. 2, anything that's invented between when you're 15 and 35 is new and exciting and revolutionary, and you can probably get a career in it. Basically, when we're young, we get excited by new developments, at least many of us do. Our brain is still quite plastic and flexible, open to new experiences. Rule 3, anything invented after you're 35 is against the natural order of things. Older people tend to be more conservative, more afraid of change, more afraid of technology. Why do I have to have one of these new smartphones? What's wrong with the phones we had when I was young? Social media? I don't want to go on social media. I don't trust it. Online banking? No. That's not how I feel. That's how many older people feel. Not all older people, I should say. By the way, in the age we're at now, where change happens all the time, we need to learn to embrace it, because if you don't embrace change in the 21st century, you fossilize and you are left behind, unfortunately. So maybe it's a case with AI. Maybe we're just afraid of AI because, well, it's new, it's scary. But maybe it won't be a bad thing. Maybe it will be a good thing. Maybe it will benefit us, as I will talk about shortly. But first, let's go through some myths and facts about AI. First of all, myth: superintelligence by 2100 is inevitable. Also myth: superintelligence by 2100 is impossible. What do I mean by superintelligence? I mean AI that is smarter than humans, and therefore potentially dangerous. Fact: superintelligent AI is not guaranteed, but experts out there think that it probably will arrive, but it may be decades away. But that's no reason not to plan for it. If we detected an asteroid coming towards the Earth and it was 50 years away, the entire world would be getting together immediately to try and prepare to evade, to get rid of that asteroid. Well, AI is that asteroid. It's coming towards us. We're going to have AI that's smarter than humans, that will take pretty much every human job potentially, that might make humans not just unemployed, but unemployable, and maybe a danger to us, may replace us as the dominant species on this planet. So we should be preparing. We should be putting things in place, because if we do it early, when we're still smarter than the AI, we may be able to just use it to benefit us rather than risk the dangers. Myth: only Luddites worry about AI. Fact: many top AI researchers are concerned. Mythical worry: AI turning evil. Also mythical worry: AI turning conscious. Well, these are not real worries. I mean, AI could become evil. If we develop AI with emotions, that might be possible. It could turn conscious. We don't know what makes the human brain conscious, so we could potentially make artificial life conscious, but that isn't necessarily the worry. The real worry is AI turning competent with goals misaligned from ours. Basically, the AI gets very, very good, better than any human at performing a task, and we give it the wrong task. I mean, here's an example. We all get together, we make a super intelligent AI. Its purpose is to do good, to cure diseases, cure cancer, come up with new propulsion systems to get us to the stars, extend the lifespan. All these good goals. But we're clever. We think AI could be dangerous. So we write into its code at every level one goal: do everything you can to prevent human suffering. And you build that into it, into its core. And then you switch it on and you think, okay, here we go. It's now going to save us all. But then that AI, being super intelligent, very rapidly reads every history book, every psychology book, every textbook, and comes up with a very obvious conclusion: all humans suffer. We all suffer. We suffer when someone we're attracted to does not reciprocate. We suffer when a football team loses, when we listen to sad music, when we stub our toe, when we eat something unpleasant. We suffer all of our lives. So what does the AI decide to do? Well, it decides to create a virus that it releases into the world to infect everyone. It doesn't tell us it's doing this, of course. And then one night, everyone goes to sleep and they don't wake up. Destroys us all. Now, it's just done what it was told. It's prevented human suffering. No more human suffering, not just for this generation, but for every generation. AI turning competent with goals misaligned from ours. Myth: robots are the main concern. In all the sci-fi movies, it's always robots. It's Terminator stamping on skulls. Well, That's not the real worry. Fact, misaligned intelligence is the main concern. It needs no body, only an internet connection. The AI would be more dangerous if it doesn't have a body, if it's just distributed in the cloud, spread over many computers. Because that way, it could hide. You might not even know it exists, but it could still manipulate us all, get into all of the machines, create lots of fake social media accounts, manipulate elections, start wars if it wanted to, gather money if it wanted to, without us even knowing it existed. And it could end humanity if it so wished. Myth, AI can't control humans. Fact, intelligence enables control. We control tigers by being smarter, not stronger, not faster. A tiger has got claws, teeth, a strong jaw. It's fast, it's strong, way more than any human. Yet if humans decided we didn't want tigers on the planet anymore, they'd be gone. And they might not even know who destroyed them. We just put poison down. Myth, machines can't have goals. Of course they can. Intelligence enabled, a heat-seeking missile has a goal to destroy a target. Mythical worry, superintelligence is just years away. Let's panic. Actual worry, it's probably at least a decade or two away, but it may take that long to make it safe. So we need to plan ahead. We need to plan ahead. Now, AI has got a lot of, well, there are negative possibilities to AI. It could cause a lot of harm, could destroy us, will, in all likelihood, very soon take away a lot of jobs and create perhaps mass unemployment. But there are many potential benefits to it as well. This is what most people do for a living, this kind of job. Millions and millions of people on this planet working 12, 15-hour days in sweatshops, working in mines, working in factories for small amounts of money. They have miserable lives. That's most of this planet. Well, AI could do all of this. And if AI did it really well, the world would be richer than it's ever been because the AI could do all these jobs more efficiently. We could have more wealth than we've ever had. But that's no use if all the wealth is just in the hands of a few trillionaires that own the AI technology. It's already going that way. People like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, all these people like Zuckerberg, they're becoming phenomenally wealthy as they have less and less employees in their companies. Now, that's bad. But if the AI does all of these jobs and there's mass unemployment, well, what governments could do is just tax these trillionaires because they'll be the only people working, but tax them to a huge extent. 98% tax, 99% tax. They can afford it. The AI is generating the wealth. And where does this money go? Well, it's distributed as universal basic income to everyone. Everyone gets an income every month, a good income that allows them to live well, provides them with everything. And they don't need to work. This could free our species. Our species could be free to do whatever we want. Be artists, form bands, write books, travel the world, learn new things, do whatever we want with our lives, be completely free for the first time in our history. AI could allow this to happen. Meanwhile, it's curing diseases, developing new production methods and propulsion systems. This could be a utopia if done correctly, or a dystopia if AI is used incorrectly. Okay, that's all for now. Thank you very much for watching. If you want to follow me on Twitter, my handle is Mark of the D at Mark of the D. And if you would like to contribute to keep this series of podcast episodes going, then simply visit scienceontheedge.com and click the donate button. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll speak to you all very soon. Goodbye for now. Have a great day. Goodbye.